You want beef, then have a call. Huh, looks like bling blow, ayy. Yeah, you can't hold me down. Yeah, how you like me now? You want beef, then have a call. Huh, looks like bling blow, ayy. Going up, going up, going up, going up, yeah. Going up, 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 yeah. Going up, 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 yeah.
Hello and welcome everybody into another edition of the Sun Solar Panel. Whether you're watching us on YouTube, on the Fox Sports Arizona Facebook page, or listening to us on the podcast, we are very happy to have you along with us. I am Greg Esposito, ahoy hoy, joined by Saul Bookman. Saul, how are you today?
What's up, everybody?
And as always, the man, the myth, the really old guy, Dave King. Dave, how are you, my friend?
I'm only a myth because I'm so old. That's right.
They've been talking about you for hundreds of years. Prowess. Actually, James.
I'm in the Zapruder film.
James Naismith learned the game from you. So we appreciate everybody joining us. Big program on.
I could tell you the whole history of the peach basket.
We don't need that. We've got a jam-packed show today. So Saul, since you're producing now, if you need to use the mute button, hit it for Dave at any point.
Actually, I would rather just do this because the first comment is, "Wow, Espo's on time."
Sometimes that happens. I'm
That's
here.
What I'm talking about.
Look, when you've got corporate overlords now, you show up on time. I'm caffeinated. I'm showered. This is the most alert I've ever been for one of our shows, and you should be excited for that, everybody.
Dude, I'm so excited about that, man. For real.
We've got a jam
on time.
Can I get to what we have today, or do you want to just BS for the next hour?
Carry on, sir.
All right. We've got a jam-packed show today. We have got from Stadium, Jeff Goodman, college basketball analyst and draft expert. He's going to help us break down who the Suns will likely take on Wednesday. A lot of options with the Suns sitting at 10. He'll give us the insight we need to know about the draft. And then one of my favorite guys, a guy I got to know while hosting the Suns post-game show, it is Flex from Jersey is going to join us, a budding star on the scene of rumors. He's been on top of all the CP3 to the Suns information. We'll see if he has anything new and tell you a little bit about his story. He's an interesting guy. And then there were some new jerseys dropped this week. I mean, we saw the jerseys, but now we've seen the full uniform. You know, and we had some fun with the reactions last week, but now we got to give our reactions to the full set. It should be a lot of fun. No, we don't have an exclusive interview with the Scorpion from the video. His agent wouldn't call us back. So just so you know. And then we've got Espo's big board, as always. So a lot going on the show. But before we get to any of that, how was your week, guys? A good week for both of you?
It was pretty crazy. It was a pretty crazy week. This is probably the most busy week that we've had as a Suns, kind of following in quite a while, man. It's just a lot of news from Monday to Friday. It was crazy.
Plus you setting up all of our new graphics and everything. You've been doing more for the solar panel in the past week than we've had in a long. This is awesome.
I am not going to say anything about that. I'm not going to say anything about that.
It just looks great. I'm impressed. I love the intro. The intro was hot.
It's sad when the hardest working man on the Sun solar panel is the guy that just showed up. And our street cred went up about 100% just by that open. Like, that was the coolest thing I've ever been involved in. And Dave doesn't even understand that that's actually music. So that's how cool that music was. So
I thought that was just
thank you, Saul.
Well, I'm glad you guys liked it.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this show. Big guests, big topics, a lot coming up when you look at it. And before we get started, I want to say a big thank you to Fox Sports Arizona for welcoming us into the family. We announced it last week. We are live on their Facebook page right now, and there's a lot of big things coming up with this partnership, and it should be Great for you, the fans listening and watching. Even better for us because not only do we add Saul, but as I've hinted to, I'm no longer our graphics department, which is good for everybody involved. The graphics will be better.
I was kind of hoping you didn't say that, so that way, if I screwed something up, it still kind of went back to you. But
also,
now it's all Saul.
I love the fact that I am also the youngest member of the Sun Solar panel still. Somehow we add a new face and I am still the youngest member of this team, which tells you that the average age of this show is really old. So
this is why you added Saul.
Well, this is also why, it's good that I have a 21-year-old and I have, 3 teenagers. I'm still up with the game, so I'm good, man. I'm good.
You're definitely the coolest of the 3 of us. I'm not saying that that's not the case. I'm just saying.
Again, I refer to my comment last week. That's like the fastest kid with 2 broken legs, man. I don't know if that's really that big of a compliment, but I'll take it.
Before we welcome in our guest, Jeff Goodman, I want to get general thoughts on the draft from you guys. Do you feel, where do you want to see the Suns go with the 10th pick? What position are you looking at? I don't want a specific player. We'll get into that with Jeff and we'll discuss it after. But what position are you hoping they look at in the draft? Let's start with Saul.
Well, I would love for them to get a point guard of some type. I'm kind of more privy to Killian Hayes, but if he's not there, then I definitely think they're going to go wing. I don't think there's not a power forward in this draft at where they're picking that I think is going to be a worthy option. So I'm kind of more leaning towards. I would love a shooter like Nesbitt. I really like him from Vanderbilt. Can shoot from the outside. He's got some deficiencies on other places of the court, but other than that, I think that's
he's got some deficiencies.
I mean, they all do, right?
Places of the court, like almost all the places inside the 3-point line.
But that's this draft, though. It's deficiency central. So,
yeah, who I want the Suns to take with the 10th pick is a 10-time All-Star and future Hall of Fame point guard. That's what I want.
I think that's what a lot of people want here. For me, look, it's going to depend on what happens in these moves, but I think if
Thank you for that insight.
If you make a trade, you're going to have to obviously replace Kelly Oubre Jr. And luckily, there are a lot of versatile 3-and-D wings in this draft, but I still think point guard of the future is a place that you have to look. That backup guard spot has been a hole on this roster for a very long time, and I think it's something that we need to the franchise needs to look at and address. And this draft has a lot of potential options there.
Well, I mean, why don't we just bring on the expert that we brought on to talk about all that stuff? Last night week on Fox Sports Arizona, we aired an NBA mock draft special, which will also air on Sunday and Monday night. Jeff Goodman is going to join us, and this is what he thought the Suns would take based on the mock draft at number 10.
Listen, and they were very close, and this pick could determine whether they take that next jump. Obviously, they've got Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, Ricky Rubio. What do they need? They need a big, strong wing, and I know this is a kid that Cam absolutely loves, and that's Patrick Williams out of Florida State. Don't look at the numbers. He only averaged about 9 points and 4 rebounds on a deep and loaded Florida State team, but he is a man-child. I'm not going to say he's Kawhi Leonard yet, and neither is Cam, but at the look of him, he's a guy who plays hard, big-time athlete, strong, can really, really guard multiple positions as well.
So there it is, and coming onto the show, Mr. Jeff Goodman. How you doing, sir?
What's up, guys? How are you?
Hey, thanks so much for joining us, Jeff. Before we get into specific players, first off, I'm Greg. You got Dave and Saul with
Dave.
us. I'm not used to having guests on the show, but thanks so much.
Oh, come on.
Thanks so much for joining us. Before we get into specific players in this draft, I have a general question when looking at this year's talent on the draft board. Obviously, a unique year with everything going on in the world, with the draft happening in November rather than June. But to me, this draft class reminds me somewhat of 2013, the draft class that had Anthony Bennett, Alex Len towards the top, where there may not be a number one star, a guaranteed guy in this draft, but there's a lot of talent that's going to have success later in the first round, and in the lottery. Do you kind of view this talent pool that same way?
Yeah, it's deep, but it's not strong at the top. I mean, period. Anybody who tries to tell you otherwise is not being honest with you. A lot of GMs I talked to before the draft lottery said they did not want to get the number one overall pick. They did not want to have to make that decision because there isn't a lock guy like Zion Williamson last year. Anthony Bennett got Chris Grant fired from Cleveland years ago. I don't think it'll get Gerson Rosas fired from Minnesota because he started the job recently. But it's a tough pick right now. And again, I would have went with the de facto kind of favorite before the lottery was James Wiseman. I had polled most of the NBA execs, 35 of them, and the majority said they would go with James Wiseman, the 7-1, athlete. Out of Memphis. He only played 3 games for Memphis last year. But ultimately, you can't put him with Karl Anthony Towns. So they're going to have to make a decision, likely between LaMelo Ball and Anthony Edwards at the top. And that is not an easy decision because both have a lot of red flags attached to them, whether it's LaMelo not playing any defense and his poor shot selection and his 25% three-point shooting last year overseas, or it's Anthony Edwards and his 40% field goal percentage, 29% three-point percentage, and the fact that his team absolutely stunk last season at Georgia as a freshman. So, it's not great at the top, but it is good. Listen, if you're asking me, gun to my head, am I taking the top 3? If you give me a choice of I can have the top 3 picks in this year's draft or 4 through 14, and who's the best player, where are they going to come out of in 5 years? I'm taking 4 through 14 in a heartbeat.
So the Suns are sitting at 10, Jeff, and is that so? You said the top is pretty weak, but the depth is there. Where would 10 this year, as far as talent, potential, rank compared to prior years? Is it still
Similarly.
A little bit below?
Yeah,
Similar.
Yeah, no, I think it's similar. I don't think there's much difference. Like I said. Pat Williams, who I, in my mock draft, had him going to the Suns. I think he's terrific. I really do. I think he could end up being the best player to come out of this draft. I mean, listen, at 10, the year when Anthony Bennett went number 1, who went number 10 that year was CJ McCollum. Number 15 was Giannis. So I think this could be a similar deal where you get some real value deep. Now, the international crop not nearly as strong as it was then, with Giannis going 15, obviously. But Denny Avdija is a kid that he's not going to get to 10 for Phoenix, but I could see him cracking the top 3 because, again, the top 3 are not nearly as powerful. I think Wiseman probably goes number 2 to Golden State. But, yeah, Pat Williams is a guy that he does everything well. Again, he came off the bench last year, 6th man at Florida State, loaded, deep Florida State team, never complained. As high character as a kid as you're going to find. He really, really, really can guard immediately. And he's big, strong, 6'8", 225. He's got a Kawhi Leonard type body, and he guards like Kawhi. The question is, can he do what Kawhi did and go from where he was a 20% three-point shooter in college at San Diego State to where he can be a legitimate threat from at least from 18 and 20 feet when he gets to the league.
Jeff,
it's real tough. Oh, sorry.
Jeff, one of the things that Suns fans really pride themselves on is the fact that they always have good point guards until recently, until we got Ricky Rubio really this year. But with the rumors of CP3, you're always going to need a backup point guard, no matter whether you have Rubio or CP3 in the fold. What are your thoughts on Killian Hayes in this draft?
I like him. Obviously, I haven't seen him in person, but he's a guy that really knows how to play, high IQ, good size. Not a big-time athlete. So Killian Hayes could be a guy on the board at number 10. Another guy I'd look at is out of Alabama, Kira Lewis. super fast. He not a great shooter, but a capable shooter. Both of them are capable shooters. I don't think the point guard crop is especially strong in this year's draft. I really don't. I think it's loaded with 3-and-D guys, really good wings. I know that's not like the priority for Phoenix right now because, I mean, obviously you got Booker and you drafted Cam Johnson and you got Mikal Bridges. So you got a few of those guys, but that wouldn't prohibit me from taking a guy like maybe even a Devin Vassell, who also came out of Florida State, who's a 3-and-D guy, but an elite defender. I think that's what Phoenix really needs here is a guy who can make shots, but also a guy who can really guard.
Yeah, not that any GM has tells because they obviously they're going to go for best player every year. But if James Jones, the GM of the Suns, has a tell, it's that he wants to surround Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton with guys who remind him of himself. He drafted Cam Johnson last year, what people thought was an overdraft, but he probably should have made all rookie second team. And then after all is said and done, and then the year before he was very instrumental in picking Mikal Bridges at 10. So what do you think about guys like Sadiq Bey and you mentioned Vassell already, but Aaron Nesmith, guys like that going to the Suns?
Yeah, I mean, listen, what's in the in thing these days is multi-dimensional wings. That's what everybody wants these days. Like you said, the Suns just took two of them in the last 2 years in the draft. Both can kind of, obviously Cam Johnson's more of a shooter, but they're long. I think Vassell, Nesmith is probably the best pure shooter to come out of this year's draft. Only played 14 games last year at Vandy as a sophomore and then shut it down due to injury, but shot 52% from beyond the arc. Sadiq Bey just does everything well. Nothing great. Shot 40, I think he shot like 44% from three last year as a sophomore at Villanova. He's got more size. He's, kind of similar to Mikal Bridges. Really good defensive player. Mikal's more athletic. You can never go wrong with a Villanova guy. I almost feel like, though, if I'm Phoenix, I'm swinging for the fences here. I'm not just taking a guy like Sadiq Bey is going to be solid, really solid. I think like Mikal Bridges is. To me, I would roll the dice and go with a Pat Williams if he's on the board because I think his upside. He's an unbelievable athlete. He's big. He's strong. Again, he can guard. His shot will get better. He can put it on the floor. So I think Pat Williams is one of those guys that, at worst case scenario, you're going to get a really good rotation guy. At best case scenario, you could get a guy that honestly could be an 18 and 8, 18 and 7 type guy.
So quick question from the chat. Our viewers want to know Desmond Bane. Is there a chance that he could be the pick at 10, or is that kind of an overreach at that spot in your mind?
Well, like you said, there's never an overreach when it comes to the Phoenix Suns brass right now, right? But yes, I think that's an overreach. I think you trade down. To me, you trade down and you can still get Desmond Bane late in the first round. I love him. I mean, again, big, can really shoot the ball, 6'5", 6'6", can guard, a 3-and-D guy like Devin Vassell, like Aaron Nesmith. But to me, you don't need to take him at 10. You trade down. And I think at 10, you can trade down. I think the harder spots to trade out of right now are like 1, 2, 3, because they don't have nearly the value that people think they do. And nobody's going to give a ton to move up to 1, 2, 3. But I think you can trade down from 10 and still get a guy that you really like at 15, at 17.
Well, one of the interesting storylines in this draft is obviously how the pandemic has affected every aspect of it. For yourself, in kind of trying to watch these guys, trying to figure out things, and for GMs as well, how difficult is it to try to project a guy without having the ability to have seen them in person as much as you would have in a regular year?
Shouldn't have been hard at all. If they did their homework and the GMs were out there and the scouts were out there and they actually work, they should be fine. They saw an entire college basketball season. And it's so overdone. Like the combine stinks now. It really stinks, especially if you're drafting 10th. Nobody who played in the combine, you are going to draft at number 10, period. Okay, so to me, again, it's more some of the team workouts, yes. The in-person interviews, you didn't have a lot of those. Yeah, you get a better feel, obviously, if you're in person. We know that, we all do interviews. We all talk to people. It's a whole lot easier when they're in front of you than when they're doing a Zoom call or what we're doing right now. But ultimately, they had enough body of work to be able to evaluate these guys if they did their homework. If they didn't, to me, that's when they're going to be in trouble. And if they're relying on the draft workouts when they come in, if they're relying on the combine and the measurements and all those things, those are the guys who screwed up.
Hey, Jeff. So what about since there wasn't an NCAA tournament, every year there's a 2 or 3 or 4 guys who really raised their stock because of how they played under pressure. One of those more recently was De'Aaron Fox. Generally guys who come out of nowhere, it's because they had a great NCAA tournament from nowhere to suddenly be in the first round. We won't get any of that this year. Does that make this draft more or less reliable as far as predictability of their career?
Well, I mean, less, because you have more body of work and games that are meaningful, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you want to see how guys play on the biggest stage with the spotlight on them. So, but on the flip side, some NBA guys put too much stock into the NCAA tournament also. Mm-hmm. So, but I would rather have it. If I'm an NBA GM, I'd rather see how these guys are performing on the biggest stage, see who steps up in the NCAA tournament in the Final Four. And obviously, I think a big measure, and again, why I question Anthony Edwards, is team success. If you're that good and you're going to be a number 1 pick, to me, you're going to take your team to more than 5 SEC wins. That scares the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Jeff, real quick before we let you go, you guys got a lot of cool stuff going on at Stadium. Some new endeavors. You guys have re-signed Shams. Why don't you tell the people a little bit about what you guys are currently working on in terms of basketball content moving down the road?
Yeah, the big thing here coming up is obviously with the NBA starting up a little bit sooner than people thought, December 22nd. Shams will certainly take the lead there. I'll help out. We did a lot of draft coverage, pre-draft coverage. That you can see. We're putting it out every day with interviews. One of those is with Pat Williams. That'll be out here soon. So you can see a little bit more about who Pat Williams is and his personality. Not as much breaking down his game, but get a feel for who the kid is. And again, I think you'll really enjoy that, especially if you end up landing him. And then college hoops starting up a week after the NBA draft, and you got no idea what it is right now. I mean, 30 teams right now. I'm 30 and counting of teams that are shut down right now due to positive tests for the coronavirus. And I tweeted out earlier, the hard part, guys, is, and I'm one, I haven't eaten indoors yet. I've been very, very stringent with my family. Yeah, careful in what I've done. However, when I see that a coach tells me that a kid has been in quarantine for 40 plus days and hasn't been allowed to leave his room, and he has not tested positive. It's all due to contact tracing. You start to worry. You start to wonder why and how that is the case. And to me, the NCAA needs to step up here and figure this out and not just be reactive to everything. Be proactive. Try to figure it out, because, yes, mental health is a clear issue with some of these kids right now. And you've got to be able to balance being safe and also making sure that these kids are okay mentally and emotionally.
I feel like I feel like I have a better chance of seeing Santa Claus than I do the NCAA stepping up to do anything.
You're right.
And the same thing with college. With football as well. There's 15 to 20 games canceled this weekend alone. The ASU Sun Devils game just got canceled just as late as yesterday, and Herm Edwards now has coronavirus. So it's tough. The NBA did a really good job being in the bubble. Not getting any in the other sports, right? It's super expensive though. And you can't do that year round, obviously. Teams got to be in their own arenas to make any kind of money. So it's going to be really, really interesting. The problem with the NBA, more so than even college and other sports, is there's no time for makeup games. I mean, I don't know what this schedule is going to look like if you've got to cancel a game. If you got to go into 7-day quarantine, there's 3 games you got to reschedule minimum. And they're going to be getting those games scheduled tight this year to get 72 in. So it's going to be rolling dice the entire season for the NBA.
Yeah, no, it's going to be tough. And a lot of the players, again, you're going to have early on, a lot of those teams that went deep, they're going to have a lot of load management, a lot more load management than we've seen before. But however, again, with a 72 game season, you can't load manage too much or else you're going to put yourself in a tough situation. So it's all, listen, you got to adapt. That's the bottom line. You got to try to be proactive as much as you can, whatever league it is. NBA did a great job, Adam Silver, in the bubble. Now they're going to come out of the bubble. And how differently is it going to look this season when you, like you said, you're going to have shutdowns, you're going to have postponements, whatever the case. To me, in college basketball, I think one easy thing that the NCAA should have done was have every team, period. When you're playing back-to-back games at the same site against the same opponent. So you can get in more games, have a chance to get 20 games in, 20 plus games this season.
Yeah.
So, Jeff, we really hope that you get some load management days in the few days between the draft and college basketball starting
7
up.
of them. We're good.
You deserve it, especially the hard work you're doing over at Stadium. We got replays of that draft special that you guys did, the mock draft, coming up on Fox Sports Arizona, Sunday at 9 p.m., Monday at 8 p.m. He is Jeff Goodman. Highly recommend checking out everything he does. Jeff, thanks so much for taking time on your Saturday for us.
Thanks for having me, guys. Really appreciate it. Saul, we'll talk soon, man. And
all right, buddy.
Hope all's well. Take care, guys.
Thanks, buddy.
All right,
see ya.
Thanks, buddy.
He is Jeff Goodman of Stadium. Recommend following him on social. One of the best college basketball minds you will find out there. And you can see him all year on Stadium. Recommend watching everything that guy puts out. I really appreciate him taking time. So, guys, you hear it. Patrick Williams is the guy that he thinks fits best for the Suns. My initial reaction is that 3-point percentage, his shooting scares me a little bit. I wonder if that's James Jones's feeling as well, or if James looks at the offense and goes, we've got the firepower. What we need is versatile defensive guys now. And to me, that's what a Patrick Williams brings you. And you hope he finds that offense. And when you hear a comparison to Kawhi Leonard and that his defense is like Kawhi's already, that's got to get you a little excited for it.
That gets your attention, certainly, for sure. I mean, I don't. That's the one thing that I took away from what he said was like, okay, he was the one guy out of all the prospects that he could relate to a current NBA player and say he has a similar skill set, right? And so I thought that was right off the bat. I was like, okay, I was intrigued at first, but now you have my attention.
But I got to tell you, I got to throw some truther out here. This is the opposite of a James Jones pick. It just is. As much as he should be, Patrick Williams should probably be drafted by a team like the Suns because he fits their timeline. They're in a growth period. If you consider the Suns in a growth period, if you're still, and you should be probably seeing the Suns in a growth period of their careers, then you want someone like a Patrick Williams who has a huge upside and can play small ball 4 as well. Like there's no way if Mikal Bridges can spot at the 4, so can Patrick Williams, right? So, but the problem obviously is the shooting, and the other problem is it just doesn't fit any profile that James Jones has looked for in the draft. So I just don't think
really
he's going to be picked.
We have one draft that James has been the head guy.
1.5. Let's say 2.
No, because
it's more like 1.
You're giving him credit for Mikal, and everything I heard that's not necessarily the case. There were other forces that pushed for Mikal, and it wasn't necessarily James Jones. I wonder what Jeff Bauer's influence on the draft is too, because we don't really know much about what his influence on the front office is. Now, I think if they are going all in with a Chris Paul move, which we'll talk with Flex from Jersey about that here in a second, you might take a chance on a guy like a Patrick Williams because it helps you shore up the defense in that second unit. But I think this is a total crapshoot because there are so many moving pieces right now to try to figure out what the Suns are actually going to do. And I think there are a lot of smoke screens out there too. I don't think we really know what a James Jones pick is yet.
No, not at all. Can I shamelessly plug something right now?
That's what you're here for.
That's pretty much all I'm here for is, we've been talking about the NBA draft, and on NBA draft night, we're actually going to go live during the NBA draft. and we're going to bring on some guests. We have a whole slew of guests that are going to pop in, discuss the pick, whatever that pick should be at number 10. So I encourage everybody to join us, and we'll have this on our social media channels as well.
I believe this is a Fox Sports Arizona Facebook page exclusive, correct, Saul?
It is. It is a Fox Sports Arizona page exclusive.
Oh, we're not going to have this on YouTube as well?
No, we're gonna bring the Flaming
Jesus,
Ballers.
Dave, pay attention when I talk off camera.
I was typing.
Now let me talk to the Flaming Ballers here. Join us over on Fox Sports Arizona's Facebook page. Hit the like there so you get the notification that we're going to be live on Wednesday night talking NBA draft, everything the Suns do. We'll scrutinize it. We'll celebrate it. We'll have fun with it. Join us over there because it's basically going to be a fan gathering since we are.
You do look younger in that pic, by the way.
Well, that was before I had a
I look like a
4-year-old.
government employee.
That was literally taken.
Look at that.
That was literally taken months before my 4-year-old was born and before a pandemic and quarantine.
So you were younger.
So it was 4 years ago, and I've aged 20 since then. So that's
we're not even going to talk about how much younger Saul looks in that picture.
This is true. This is true. I also didn't have all this.
I love that you guys
You've
send highly dressed up photos, and mine is just me on my cell phone. That's what we got.
It definitely looks like some type of lawyer firm for sure.
That what Blaze in the chat says corporate Espo. For those of you on podcast, which photos don't do anything for you, Dave and Saul are in suits. I'm in a dress shirt looking at a phone. It's very corporate.
You look like the intern at the law firm. In
the other promo we did where
I'm go get us coffee.
In the other promo that we did where I'm in the t-shirt and you guys are in suits, you two look like lawyers and I look like your deadbeat roommate.
Well, you're the guy. You're the guy that we're trying to stop from getting in trouble for a DUI. Basically.
Oh, that's right. You're the client. Yeah. He's the client.
You're the client.
Our friend Rhett Reese of Deadpool fame joked that we should call the show 2.5 Men because I look like a child because I'm dressed like one in the photo. So thank you everybody for that. I really do love everybody giving me a hard time.
Yes. We're not the only ones. We everybody in the chat.
Iverson vlog in the chat says we need to make the Espo picture a meme. Go for it. It would be one of the least embarrassing things about me on the internet.
It does look like a stock image too. Hey, people are coming with the heat this morning, man.
They are. I love it. I always love interacting with you guys in the chat.
For sure.
I show up on time. I drink coffee. I'm on my game, and this is what the thanks I get for it.
I love how excited people were that this actually started, and then there was a handful of people who are like, "I had no idea it was going to start on time."
So
got in late
for the first time.
So I'm gonna have to get the train back on the rails because apparently that's my job now.
Before you do that, I think it's important. Eddie Johnson was part of that NBA draft special as well.
Yes.
And he had some particular thoughts on what it means to the Suns to have a good draft this year or whatever movement they're going to make.
Expectations for 2021, make the playoffs, man. We're tired. We want to make the playoffs. It's been a long time. 10 or 11 years? I forgot to count now. And so the fans know this, the organization knows it, and most importantly, the players. They want to taste the playoffs, man. They want to know what it's like to play in the postseason. And in order to do that, you got to stay healthy, you got to stay committed throughout, and you got to get great production from everybody 1 through 15. And we saw an example of what the Suns can do in the bubble, going 8-0. And I think they want to ride that euphoria into this season and have an opportunity to finally make the playoff.
I love that EJ's like the rest of us. He looks like he's so fed up from sitting at home that he's just going to shout about the playoffs now. It's got to be the playoffs.
It is. It does. We're sick of it. All right.
EJ's like, just get me out of the house and back to basketball, please. I love Eddie. Eddie is one of my favorite human beings when it comes to the game of basketball. He's hilarious, but I agree with him.
And he could talk trash with the best of them.
Oh, and Eddie likes you if he talks trash to you.
Yes, 1,000%.
if he's pleasant or doesn't say much to you, he doesn't like you. If he's talking trash to you, that means you're in his circle there. So
he doesn't like me. Got it.
No, well, none of us do, Dave. That's just kind of the way this works. So before we move on and we bring in Flex and we talk a little CP3, I want to know predictions. We're going to be on live on Wednesday, but I want to know right now, as we sit here on Saturday morning, who are you taking if you're the Suns at number 10?
Who am I taking if I'm the GM of the Suns?
That was the question, Dave.
No, exactly what he said.
Well, it's different because James Jones will take somebody different. I take Killian Hayes.
Okay. And Saul?
I would take Aaron Nesmith.
Nesmith. You got to say his name right.
Nesmith, whatever. Tomato.
It's not Naismith.
Is he related to?
It's Nesmith. I'm sorry. Yeah. Because I said Naismith before, and then I wanted to say Nesmith. I don't know why I keep doing it. Nesmith. My bad. Aaron Nesmith from Vanderbilt. I just like his outside shooting and his overall game. He's got some things to work on like everybody else. And Jeff Goodman has convinced me that I will be happy if they do take Patrick Williams. I will say that.
I'm glad we had Jeff on because there was potential that I did what I did last year when we were live for the draft. And I went, who is Patrick Williams? Like I did with Cam Johnson. But now I know. So I'm very glad that Jeff Goodman was here and convinced me that despite the fact that that Patrick Williams' stats do not look impressive when you look at them, he is a guy I would want in Phoenix. For me, I just enjoy the fact that we've got a Halliburton and a Bane in this draft. It's like the evil corporation and villain draft, and that excites me because the Suns could use a guy with that could come off with a little edge. I have a feeling, I have a suspicion that Bane is the kind of guy that the team would reach for, but I'm in the boat. I want likely a point guard here, and I'd be fine with a Kira Lewis or a Killian Hayes at that point. That position.
Do we trust James Jones if he reaches?
Yes, Cam Johnson proved that. I think he can.
Yeah, but Ty Jerome.
So Steve Holler in the chat says that Gambo shot down a few names the other day. He's generally been a guy who knows this kind of stuff. So he shot down a bunch of Gambo.
We'll see. I don't know.
Do you remember the 2018 draft?
Yeah. but to be fair,
after Ayton, it was just kind of like, oh, I know he's going to take this guy, and then that guy went, and then this guy, and then this guy went, and then this guy.
Well, so we know how front offices work, and this is an awesome segue into Flex coming on. We know how front offices work. There's a bunch of people in the front offices. They all have their own opinions, just like the three of us have our own opinions. The chatters have their opinions. Everyone thinks something's close until it's not, and so all those things were in play. And I'm not entirely defending Gambo here, but every time he does say something, it's because at least the person he's talked to or one or two people he's talked to think that's true. Doesn't mean it stays true 5 minutes later. It just was true at the time he heard it. Yeah. So all those things were in play.
One miss doesn't make you a bum. It makes you like most reporters. There's going to happen from time to time, and sources will get things wrong. But there's a lot coming out right now, and one of the man with sources that have surprised a lot of people is my guy Flex from Jersey. Let's bring him on to the show and say hi to Flex. Flex, my man, how are you? How's
it going, Flex?
My guys, Espo, Sal. Hey, Sal, first time, man. Great doing business with you, brother. I love your stuff.
Nice to meet you, man. I appreciate you.
Well,
hey, Sal. Sal. I'm sorry, Sal. Saul. Hey, you just threw me off, Dave. Come on, man.
Yep.
Come on, man. Hey,
before we get too far into this, let me assure everybody watching, wherever you're watching or listening, we did not hire an actor. This is Flex from Jersey. I know it for a fact. I've known this man for years.
Oh, I know the voice. I know the voice. Like as soon as you start talking, I was like, "Oh yes, that is Flex for real."
Yeah.
Because Twitter has taken this man for a ride over the last week, and I'm telling you, he's real. He's spectacular, and we're glad to have him on. Flex, you have been a man in front of this CP3 rumor for a while now. You were one of the first to, actually, I believe you were the first to have anything in terms of talking about this rumor. When we sit here, it is, let me check the watch. It's about 8:40 Arizona time on Saturday. That's 10:40 Eastern, where Flex is.
7:40 Pacific.
Thank you, Dave. If you want to do the math on Hawaii, you can let us know in a second. But where we sit right now, what are you hearing about a potential CP3 to the Suns?
All right, man. So let me check my phone before I say something, because it's been a whirlwind, guys. I'm not playing, man. I haven't slept in about a week, and so I will say this. When I woke up yesterday, at this time yesterday, if you would have asked me that same question, I probably would have said mid to high 90s that this was a done deal. Okay, and I'm not saying it's not a done deal, but what I am saying is, as the day progressed yesterday, you started to see the first signs of maybe a road bump or some type of friction in the negotiations. And so I tweeted late last night, and again, there was some people that kind of forced me to log off of Twitter, because you try to give updates, but if it's not what people want to hear, and so they get upset and they start to get defensive. So I'll leave it where I said last night. I believe it's about 85-15 that this gets done. And what people have to understand is that there's many moving parts. There's so many layers to this situation. From day one, it's been changing like the weather. But I can say that I'm still confident from my sources, just speaking to somebody within the hour right before jumping on with you guys, that there is, I want to tread lightly when I say this, guys. And so we know that the NBA can't make trades yet. And the understanding is that it's probably not going to open up till about midnight on Sunday. And so I'm not saying the deal has to get done officially by that time. But what I am saying is the time is ticking now. Okay. When the negotiations started, there was the perception that everybody was playing nice and everybody wanted to take care of the many parties involved. And it's now graduated to the point where people are looking at their watches and saying, hey, guys, we got to hurry this up. We need to know something. Something has to happen.
I got a question for you regarding timing, and I'm not sure how much how much you would know about this versus speculate, but there's two distinct pieces, stretches of time that matter here. One is the beginning or the end of the moratorium, the beginning of transactions, which is probably going to be around Monday. Maybe tomorrow, maybe Tuesday, but probably Monday. Then there's the draft day. Last year on draft day, a year ago, James Jones made 3 different trades on draft day that involved players. And then third is Friday, the actual new NBA season. See, everything that happens before next Friday, this is me nerding out for a sec, bear with me, but try to, know the difference between these two. Anything that happens before next Friday is on this year's salaries and eats into the Suns free agent space next weekend. Okay. So if you trade for Chris Paul this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, if you trade for Chris Paul this week, you can get it done with just Ricky and Kelly, for example, and one other little small contract with Ty Jerome. And then because you get the 125% close, right? But that takes $10 million out of the Suns cap space next weekend if you do that, because all that resets and the Suns end up with a ton less cap space, which is barely going to be mid-level. If you wait for a whole week to do the Chris Paul trade, and you wait until next weekend, if everyone's got the patience to do that, the Suns could sign all the guys they wanted to sign in free agency and then trade for Chris Paul over the cap. That spends a little bit of more of Sarver's money. But you know what? I will tell you guys, Sarver has never been a cheapskate when he thought it was time to make a big splash. He's just made the wrong decisions on the big splashes, and he's been a cheapskate after they've been successful for a while. But he's never been a cheapskate to get there. So I think the Suns should wait until next weekend to do this. Flex, do they have patience for that? Do the players involved, the people involved, have the patience for that?
Dave, it's next weekend because it took you that long to ask the question. So now we have the cap
Dude,
space. Go ahead.
I
Flex.
got to tell you guys the real. You guys got to know there's a huge difference between making the trade as soon as possible and waiting a week.
I
love you, Dave. I love you, Dave.
You guys.
Espo's the odd man out because he's not wearing
You're on
purple,
mute,
so.
I think, buddy.
Yeah, Flex, you're on mute.
I'm sorry. Here
There
we
you
go. All right, so let me just kind of recap everything Dave said, and I'm gonna try to do it in 30 seconds. All right. No. That's a great Dave. You did a great job.
You guys don't know anything, man.
No, what I'm trying to say is, Dave's question is great. And I want to hit up on all his points, and I'm gonna try to do it fast. So, yes, listen, the draft is Wednesday. My understanding from my sources in Manhattan and around the league is that I believe 12:01 Sunday going into Monday is when they're going to lift the moratorium. So you're right. It is going to be Monday, but Sunday 12:00 going in. You know what I mean? 12:01, right? Going into Monday. So that is true. The draft is Wednesday, and you can start to negotiate contracts on Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern, and then you can sign at 12:01 on the 22nd as a free agent officially. You can announce these things. And when I say time, guys, I got to stress, this is not saying the trade has to be done this weekend. What I'm saying is the people involved need to know that it's happening. Okay? That is what I'm talking about. I'm not saying the people involved don't have the patience to wait till next weekend so that the Suns can utilize the $17 million in cap space and get someone else. That is absolutely part of the plan. And it'd be foolish for the Suns not to want to do that. And none of the players from my sources or my contacts have had any problem with that. Matter of fact, the deal is, as of right now, is based around those parameters. But what I'm saying is right now, this second, there is no deal. Okay? There is no deal. And there's players involved that just want to know that there is going to be a deal. Don't announce it. You can wait till next week. You can utilize cap space. You can make the trades you want to do. You can draft what you want to do. But understand, there are people that have real things going on that need to know really soon. And I don't want to overstep my boundaries. I want to tread lightly. I'm always going to be respectful and protect my sources. But I can tell you that at this time yesterday, we weren't worried about time. As a matter of fact, I had got information from a source that said no news is good news. Okay. And now that has changed a little bit. Now it's like, hey, guys, we need to figure out what's going on. You need to tell me, am I getting traded? Am I going somewhere? Are you going to acquire me? Things like that, because this is a roller coaster off season. And I'll say one more thing. The Suns went into this negotiations trying to be very thoughtful about and respectful about the feelings of everyone involved. So you go into the negotiations and you want to do right by people. I don't want to say names, guys, and we know who the names are. I just don't feel comfortable saying the names because at the end of the day, until it's done, the names can change. And it's quite frankly, man, I've been around this long enough to know it's pretty disrespectful to just be throwing names out there. So I'm not going to do that, but I am going to say that if you're working on the premise that we know the names involved, you might want to call somebody and let them know, hey, you know what, this is what we're doing, and this is where you and your family might be living for the next, 6 to 12 months. So there's so many moving parts, man. So that's what I mean by the time thing. But to answer your question, Dave, the idea is to try to utilize the cap space, and I haven't heard otherwise.
I love you, Flex, but that was not 30 seconds.
Sorry, brother.
Dave. Hey, but can we talk? Okay, so we've talked about, whether or not this is going to happen and all the details and all the behind the scenes stuff, right? Can we talk about whether or not this even makes sense? Because we didn't get a chance to talk about that last weekend. This weekend, I mean, let's talk about that because that's the big thing everybody wants to know. Does this make sense? So let's do it.
It makes a ton of sense, man. I can't find a situation that makes more sense. CP3 emphatically, okay. And again, guys, I'm not saying what Flex is what Flex wants, or I'm not saying what people are. This is factual information, man. Chris Paul wants to be in Phoenix. He loves the Phoenix Suns. He adores Devin Booker. He's infatuated with DeAndre Ayton. He absolutely loves Monty. I can go on and on about the reasons why Chris wants this to happen, okay? Why it makes sense is real simple. There's no one available right now that's better than Chris Paul. I'm sorry. You know, I hear people talk about Fred VanVleet and some of these other options, but no one's going to move the needle in the direction in which Chris Paul can. And another thing is you got to understand, you got a 24-year-old superstar in Devin Booker who you know, took the world by storm at the bubble and is training his butt off right now to show the world that he's a top 10 guy in this league, man. So you want to start to put him around players that he believes moves the needle and he's comfortable with. So it makes a ton of sense. I think it brings out a different dynamic of DeAndre Ayton. I keep saying DeAndre Ayton is probably going to be the biggest benefactor to this deal. I think he's going to grow up really quick. I think Chris is going to challenge him to be the best player he can be. And, again, it makes sense on many fronts. But I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sean.
No, I agree with you. I completely agree with you. You know, my thing is when you're talking about the team as it is right now, as it is constructed, and a lot of people, their thing is, well, I like Ricky Rubio. I want to keep Ricky Rubio. And I love Ricky Rubio. I think he did a great job for us to get us from where we were to where we are currently. But you still need another step if you want to make the playoffs. And so are you telling me that another year in this system all of a sudden makes Ricky Rubio that much of a better player? I don't know about that. You're hoping for the development of other players to make Ricky Rubio an even better player. And I think in this case, you need to have CP3 in the fold because he's a better player than Ricky Rubio. So you don't have to rely on the development of others so much, even though that will be a byproduct of him coming here.
I think DeAndre Ayton, like you said, Flex, is the biggest beneficiary here because Chris Paul is not going to let him coast. And you're going to know within a year whether DeAndre Ayton is a max player or not. Yep. He's either going to grow under the pressure or he's going to wilt under the pressure. I feel like he's going to grow, but we don't know, and we need to know. We need to know all that. And this is Chris Paul is going to really force that. Ricky is everybody's friend. Chris Paul is the dude who demands nothing but the best. Will give you hell all day long.
He's an a-hole.
He's an a-hole. Yeah, absolutely. But he'll still be your friend, though.
He's an absolute dog on the basketball court.
Yeah,
that's what you need. That's what I mean. That's why I think that's why Shaq got better with Kobe. You know, Shaq reached his peak in LA because Kobe pushed him. Right. And that's what Devin Booker and CP3 together would do for DeAndre Ayton moving forward. And that's what excites me about this. To me, looking at everything we know about this potential deal, everything we've heard, what you've said, Flex, this seems like just that typical standoff point in any trade negotiation where both guys are kind of thumping their chests, and James Jones and Sam Presti. I mean, when we've heard reports come out that Chris Paul has been granted the right to talk to the Suns and talk to people around the Suns, you know that's significant, right? So to me, this is posturing. Last night, there were some rumors that came out that the Suns, you know, if they don't get CP3, will make a run at Fred VanVleet. To me, that feels like, a signal flare going, hey, we have other options. It's just this whole posturing that this dance that happens when you get towards the end of a trade as both GMs are trying to get what they want.
I mean, when's the last time the Suns were even involved in a big time player trade? Like even rumors, you know what I mean? It's like, and not just like, oh, it would be like what the Timberwolves are trying to do with Devin Booker. Like, okay, keep dreaming. It's never going to happen. Like we've been on that end for quite a while. And now it's like, oh, this is a reality. This could very well happen. That's why you see as much excitement, especially throughout the chat.
No, this is real. This is real. There's nothing fake about this. And the key thing is Espo made a great point. I mean, you know, the first huge step was, you know, OKC granting Chris permission to negotiate solely with the Phoenix Suns and exclusively with the Phoenix Suns. And when's the last time that happened, man? When's the last time, you know, something? First of all, it doesn't happen. It's extremely rare. And it's like I was telling people, I mean, there's a lot of people that, they take every tweet and every word and they go into forensic mode. And it's just, listen, you know, you gotta understand there's certain things you can say and there's certain things you can't say. But what I will say is this, that is the epitome of tampering, what just happened. So you got to clear things with the league and you got to make sure everything's okay, because Chris Paul is indeed under contract and the league hasn't started the new year yet. So there's things that have to happen for that to even be a legal thing.
If anybody knows the rules, though, it's Chris Paul. I mean, the dude's head of the player association.
Absolutely.
He knows how to. He's the one who got the who do you get a tech on in the playoffs for having his shirt
jersey, right? Yeah, the jersey.
Yeah. So no, he knows every rule and he knows how to get around it. And let me tell you this: Chris Paul is not going. He's not getting himself traded to Phoenix to go into the sunset. He is getting himself traded. If he goes to Phoenix, he's getting himself traded to Phoenix to drive Devin Booker deep into the playoffs, his friend Devin Booker, and to drive himself back into the playoffs. He knows OKC isn't going to run it back. So he wants to be back in the playoffs. So what does that tell me? That tells me he wants to bring somebody with him. I think he's going to bring somebody with him, and that's why I think it doesn't happen until next weekend, because it's going to be a package deal like it was with Kawhi and Paul George, like it was with Kyrie and KD, and like it was with LeBron bringing AD in.
Right. Well, that's the hope, Dave. That absolutely, that's the hope. But like I said, I mean, I'd be lying to you if I told you I didn't have a very discouraging day yesterday. I mean, going from something that you think is 99%, and then by midday, I said it was 90. And before I went to bed, it was 85. You start to get a little bit worried, but I will say 85% is still pretty damn high for this type of transaction. So don't get too caught up in that. That's just me reporting what I'm hearing and keeping it real.
Okay. If it was a bad day, how's it only down 5%? Are you just still being positive?
No. Here's the thing, man. Like it's the things were moving in such a positive manner that any negative news seems like it's gigantic. You know what I mean? Because everyone was operating under the premise that there was no issues. It was hugs and kisses across the board. And then finally they had a 5-minute, kind of argument, and it seems like it's the end of the world. And it's kind of a roller coaster. And can I give you an analogy, guys? And don't take this, verbatim player for player, but it's just an example of something I was talking to a couple sources about, and it just made a lot of sense. And someone said, hey, you know what? This deal feels like when Shaq went to Miami and played with D Wade and won that championship. Okay. And what they mean by that is, the world was starting to figure out who D Wade was, but until he got that presence in Shaq, it matriculated into something else. And you saw the type of year Dwayne Wade had, and he went from, a guy that was a young, good player in Miami to being a future Hall of Fame in Dwayne Wade. And so what I think is the impact of Chris Paul joining Devin Booker, the impact it's going to have on Devin Booker is worth it in itself. Just that alone, if you can take 24-year-old Devin Booker and give him 2 years of CP and turn Devin Booker from a guy who has to get a Damian Lillard injury to get into the All-Star game, which is blasphemy. That's terrible in itself. But if you can take Devin Booker from a guy who is, borderline all-star by some people's views to a absolute all-NBA guy, perennial all-NBA guy going forward at the age of 26 and forward, that's an incredible thing to think about, man. And let's not forget, if you acquire this, if you do this Chris Paul trade in 2022, there's a heck of a lot of good free agents in 2022. Okay, and you're going to have upwards of $45 million in expiring money from Chris Paul's deal. And you may have $15 to $18 million in another expiring deal that I can't talk about right now, but could be part of this whole situation. So now you're talking about, 60 million plus of money in 2022 when Devin Booker just set the league on fire.
Oh, we got to go forensics on this.
No, we don't. No, we don't.
I don't want to put Flex in that position.
After Flex goes. On who expires at 15, 18
we got jerseys to talk about, Dave. Damn, let's go.
Flex, what you just said, though, is the key here to me, is you have to do this because of the impact it's going to have on Devin Booker's career in all likelihood. And my guess, and I have no sources because I'm not you, Flex, is that Chris Paul and Devin Booker probably have broached that subject at some point over the last year, that if they got together, they could reach those kind of levels, which to me says you got to do this for Devin. You have to take this chance. You have to make it happen. And the fact that it's out and has been discussed now, you do it. If it costs a first that you don't really want to give up, you do it, because any first moving forward should probably be late first round picks if everything works out. So you don't need any more draft picks. Go in, make the move.
You guys talking about this is for Devin, which I agree. Like, you want to show Devin that you're serious about making moves. But I feel like this is just as much about DeAndre Ayton. Yeah. Like, if you can't figure out how to get DA from a 2010 guy to like 25-15, then we're talking about nothing again. Because then you only have 2 superstars and a pretty good player. You need DeAndre Ayton to be a superstar if this team is going to go anywhere. Like, that just has to happen. And so Chris Paul coming in and hopefully pushing him to that level, that's as much of an important part as keeping Devin Booker down the line. Because if DeAndre Ayton doesn't develop and he stays where he is, by the time you get to 2022, the only person you might have left is Devin Booker, and that's not a good scenario.
Please tell us there's no way Carmelo Anthony
Flex, you're on mute.
Going to be.
Sorry, man.
Please tell us there's no way Carmelo Anthony is going to be the guy that.
No. Listen, guys. Again. Hey, I'm not going to shoot that. Hey, I'm not going to shoot that down. I'm not going to shoot that down. No. Listen, guys. No, I'm not going to shoot that down, guys. I'm just not. But I will say he's not the person he's nowhere near the discussions right now. He's not somebody that we're openly, they're openly talking about. But I'm not going to shoot that down, man. Listen, this 12-man, this is a 12-man roster. And once you get Chris Paul, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, and hopefully another big piece, you start to hear guys start to talk, and you start to get motivation to do certain things that you probably wouldn't think would happen before. And so I won't shoot that down, because we're talking about Chris Paul, man. Come on. Listen, where there's smoke, there's fire. Where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yo, we're talking about defense too, and Melo ain't playing no D.
Oh, no. And again.
Ramadi ain't.
Again.
The mid-range kings.
No, yeah, this is not something that's being discussed right now. But again, I won't shoot it down, because I know that there's going to be a list of people that are going to line up and be very intrigued if this happens. And I'm going to put him on the top of that list that's going to be intrigued. Now, whether we want to do it or not, that's an entirely different thing. But yeah, he's going to want to be involved, guys. No Dwight Howard, guys.
Dwight Howard coming in hot.
Look, I want a banana boat on Tempe Town Lake. Otherwise, I am not happy with any of this. Flex, we're gonna let you go. Any final thoughts before we start talking jerseys and let you get?
Are we still at 85 after half an hour, or is it down to 82 now?
Hey, I got no info on the phone to say otherwise. So we're still at 85%, and I promise you guys, I love your work. You guys are the best in the business, man. Sal, I was great. It was great working with you, man. I'll be in contact with you guys, man. If I know something, you guys will know something. So maybe we can do an emergency pod and break this whole thing and wrap it up real nice.
That is why Flex from Jersey is one of my favorite guys since the first time we
Flex.
welcomed him on the post game show. Flex, tell them how they can find you on social and get all the up-to-date information from you.
Check me out, Cruise FE13 on Twitter, Flex from Jersey, and you can check me out on the Coast to Coast podcast, Coast to Coast Pod 1 on Twitter.
Look at that. That is a man that knows how to plug his own stuff and give out the inside information. Flex, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday, and we appreciate you joining us.
You got it, my guys. Have fun.
So before we get into jerseys, Flex is not actually his name. The background on that is his name is Felix, but our call screener on the post-game show misheard him, put the name in as Flex. John Bloom said it, and we just rolled with it forever. So that is how he became Flex in Jersey.
Now he goes. That's his nickname, man.
Yeah. So he just rolls with it now.
Hey, he's a real one. He's been there since day one, man. And I know after every game for the last 2 seasons, after every Suns game, I always have to stay and watch the post game and social out highlights for Fox Sports Arizona. And every time I leave the arena, the first one that's always on the radio is always Flex, and Flex always breaking it down the way he sees it, and I love it. It's something I look forward to every single game, so I appreciate him coming on.
He has been there for almost a decade now, stays up until well into the wee hours of the morning in Jersey to call into the post-game show. I know John Bloom is a big fan of Flex's as well, but let's transition. The CP3 stuff, we could actually, I'll give you guys final thoughts, anything you want to say on the CP3 situation before I grind gears and go to the next thing. Dave, why don't we start with you?
Wait, I'm sorry. What?
Final thoughts on the CP3 deal. Anything you want to say before we move on? Speaking of grinding gears.
I'm gonna stick with it. It's gonna linger until next weekend, and then we're gonna get 2 big names in, not just one.
I think this is a move that the Suns need to make. I was absolutely against this before. I just thought that the money was not worth it. But when you look at the salary breakdowns of potential trades and how this all works out, you're essentially going to be paying, maybe $5 to $10 million for CP3. And I think and if you view it in those terms, I think it's an absolute must because of what that will present to the rest of the league and future free agents and where this franchise might be going, because it possibly has turned a corner. And I think the bubble really went a long way into proving that, and they need to capitalize because the iron is hot. You need to strike when it is.
Yeah, I think they're past the point of no return with this one. I think there is irreparable damage if you don't move down this path at this point. Kelly now knows you're actively shopping him. So does Ricky. Devin has in all likelihood talked with CP3 since they gave permission for Chris Paul to talk to the Suns. Like, I think you've gone past that point of this is just flirting, and you've committed to doing the deed here. I think that's where we're at. And I think
Saul's point on the bubble is that I think that's where this started, where Chris Paul saw how good the Suns were playing. Devin and Chris Paul talked because all those guys did get chances to talk to each other. We were worried that Devin Booker would get recruited out of Phoenix, but it looks like he was doing recruiting for Phoenix.
Yeah, look, if you don't want the Ryan Russillo comment from a few weeks ago to become true, I think you have to. I think you have to make a move like this, and you've got to likely do this one because you've just gone too far down the road, and I think it upsets too many people within your organization if you don't. I think this is just both GMs seeing who blinks first and who gives that final piece to get the deal done. But if something does break, if there is news on an agreement in principle or an actual trade, we will come back. We will break it down. We will talk through it, as there is a lot of moving pieces in the next 8 days in the NBA, and we will be here to cover it from all Suns angles. So let's talk about the other big news this week. That's right. It was the Valley jerseys, jerseys and uniform, the shorts. We'd seen the leaks, but they officially released them on Wednesday, I believe it was. I've lost all sense of time and space. Was it Thursday? I've lost all sense of time and space. I live in one room basically and never leave. So they released them. Pretty cool video that went all over the Valley and showed very different things. As we joked earlier, a scorpion crawling across the jersey, a plethora of players in the jersey.
Cam looks like just a dude.
Well, that's because Cam rocks the old man YMCA T-shirt under the jersey, and
the Rocky sweatpants.
Yeah, he found sweatpants, and the best part is he gets out of a Lamborghini dressed like that.
Well, I mean, he's wearing gray sweatpants, which the ladies love, by the way. Just so you know.
Okay, Saul.
It's true. It's absolutely true.
What ladies love the gray sweatpants? What
Dude, are you
going to that they want
people in the chat back me up? Gray sweatpants.
Which lady
the
are you
ladies
talking
are all
about?
over the gray sweatpants. Tell me that's not true.
I just added it to my weekend list. I got
to tell you, my lady's not all
true.
over the gray sweatpants.
Like, you guys are probably not even on TikTok. That's why you guys don't see that stuff.
Oh man,
look,
TikTok.
If you're spending your time on TikTok looking at dudes in gray sweatpants,
no, I'm not. I'm telling you what the ladies like. Thank you.
Oh, we're getting some people in the chat.
I told you.
It is Saturday, so I'm going to do a little Home Depot, maybe some Bed Bath & Beyond, pick up some gray sweatpants. Apparently, for
I'm
the
trying to help you guys out. I'm trying to help you out.
So Valley uniforms, Cam Johnson's sweatpants aside, what do we think about the full unveil and the look? I
Saul is now
personally
younger
am
than
all in.
Espo.
Well, emotionally, Saul is definitely younger than me. Age-wise, birth certificate-wise, no.
Sweatpants wise, Saul is younger.
Saul has got them sweatpants in the bag. So uniforms. What do we think about them? I'm all in on them. Look, I gave it a 9.5 out of 10. The one thing, it's got Suns and the Sunburst logo on the shorts.
Yeah.
I would have moved that Suns to the waistband instead of the PHX, given that the shorts a little bit more room to breathe. But other than that, I think this is this generation's Sunburst uniform. I think it's the Suns version of a Miami Vice look that they're going to continue to alter and keep around each year. We got confirmation that there's going to be a court that goes with it. We saw a shot of it in the practice facility. It is not the full court, is what I'm being told. There will be additional elements that match the gradient on the jersey, is what I'm hearing. So that'll be spiced up a little bit. But you got a new arena. You got a new look. You got a new court. You might have a new superstar to go along with Devin Booker. This feels very much, and I'm not saying they're going to the finals, but this feels very much like 92-93 when they moved in to AWA. They brought in Barkley. They changed the uniforms. They changed the court. They changed the look. I have a lot of excitement, and this jersey this uniform is in the center of it. How are you guys feeling?
Espo, you did a fantastic job, and somebody in the comment just said you did a great job of steering us back to this conversation away from the gray sweatpants in a very professional style. Dude, that is A1 stuff right there. So, also, I want to give a shout out before I forget to Allison Harisis, Cody Cunningham, Tana Hughes, and Lindsey Smith for helping out with the digital and social for the Suns.
That whole rollout was incredible.
That was phenomenal. Even if you don't like the jerseys, the way they presented that, the way they put it out there, just fantastic stuff. Fantastic.
Yeah, social's been going nuts all year. Those guys have been doing such a great job all year. The Sun social hasn't been better in years. That's for sure.
Oh, that better not have been a dig at me, Dave. But
no, I said years. That's why I qualified.
Okay, thank you.
You left 5-6 years ago. Then it went into some dark times, and now it's back.
They've taken it to new levels, and this unveil was amazing. Every touch of it, the video, the graphics that they did, the background, the teasing. Take or leave Rhinestone Cowboy Kelly Oubre in it.
I like it. But I like the Rhinestone Cowboy.
You're cool. I'm not. I get it. We've established that. So, but so every element of this was great, and I just feel bad that the jerseys leaked on them early, because this would have been another notch if nobody had seen it, and that tease gotta work the way that they had mapped it out. It was excellently done, and it got everybody excited.
I love those jerseys. If I'm not a jersey buyer, I will buy that one for sure. Absolutely, that's a great jersey.
So
it's my favorite one since the Black Suns burst. And I know it mimics some of the Denver Nuggets stuff from the retro stuff back in the day. I understand that, but I don't really give a damn, because it's our jersey now, and we made it look a little bit better. And I'm a fan. Also, I did pick up the Air Force Max 3/4, and I have them downstairs, and they match. So
wait, are those the black with the purple and I just bought those too. I'm wearing them on draft night.
Oh yeah. I will too then. There we go.
I got a little coolness factor back.
There you go.
Don't tell the misses, but I did just drop a little coin on a pair of those the other day. So, look, I think this is an exciting way to welcome in a new era of Suns basketball. I hope the Valley becomes like the Purple Gang was for Charles Barkley and the group. It has very much a sunburst feel to it. It is something that I think we all can gravitate towards, and I'm looking forward to seeing it on the court, because that's when you get the true test of how a jersey looks, is when it's on the court up against another team with the floor that goes with it. I'm excited to see this, but you know what time it is, right?
Oh,
it's time for
the big board.
I think, yeah.
Time for Espo's big board. That's right. And since it's draft week, kind of, and we've got our big draft special coming up on Wednesday at 5 p.m. Arizona time over on the Fox Sports Arizona Facebook page. Yes, shameless plug. I thought this week's Espo's Big Board should be the top 5 players the Suns drafted that never actually played a game in a Suns uniform, because you know what? We might as well get depressed before with all this excitement we have right now. I got to bring the temperature of the room down a few notches.
I tried to cushion the blow, by the way, by the pictures that I selected of these players that you wanted. So hopefully I did such a thing.
Look, I want to bring the temperature of the room down just like I do with the misses. So that's what I want to do here.
Clearly,
and that's
not wearing
gray sweatpants.
Clearly, not wearing gray sweatpants.
I'm going to do that. I may show up to our draft special with a nice collared shirt with gray sweatpants with my
next week. I'll be wearing gray sweats on this show.
So let's hop into it. Number 5 on Espo's Big Board this week, it is Steven Jackson. He was the 1997 second-round pick, 42nd overall for the Phoenix Suns. Never played a game in a Suns uniform. Went on to play with numerous NBA teams. Most success with the San Antonio Spurs. Dude averaged 15 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists a game. A great second-round find for the Suns. Too bad he never played with Phoenix. Obviously, he had his own problems, numerous things, but he was a Suns draft pick, and not many people know that. So
true story. The very week after he got drafted, he actually was playing at Kiwanis Park in Tempe on the outdoor courts, and I was there, and we played against each other, and this dude talked so much trash and couldn't hit a bucket. And I was like, dude, this dude is garbage. I thought he was going to be terrible, and then lo and behold, he's playing for the Spurs and he's winning titles and he was clutch. And like, what the hell just happened here?
Saul was 30 back then at Kiwanis Park in 1997, playing a little one-on-one with Steven Jackson.
Hey, literally, Dave was 30.
One of us was 30. It was not me.
You will never know which one's older, Dave or Saul, because I'm going to keep this joke going on. Number 4 on the list, a man that's short in stature but high in basketball IQ. It's Nate Robinson. He was
that's a rough-looking photo, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I'm glad you went with the big 3 photo.
Oh yeah. Both of them. I had to do the big 3 because why not?
Yeah.
2005 first-round draft pick at 21st overall. Wound up averaging 11 points, 3 assists, and 2.5 rebounds. But he was an exciting dunk champion as well. And the thing that makes it tough when you think back at that, this was during the time that the Suns were in their eternal search for a backup point guard to Steve Nash, and they let Nate Robinson go. So, which brings us to number 3 on our list. Speaking of eternal search, the Suns forever were looking for a center, a big man. They drafted Mark Eaton. Most people don't know this. They drafted him out of, I believe it was a junior college. There's some weird thing with how they drafted Mark. Actually, I take that back. I don't even think he was in college. I think they kind of found him
how much taller
in a
he is
weird way.
Kareem.
But yeah, Mark Eaton.
Yeah, well, dude, I know. I'm kidding.
Mark Eaton was.
You got to get used to my sense of humor.
Suns drafted him in 1979, 107th pick overall. He averaged 6 points, 8 rebounds, and an assist. But he was a big part of the Utah Jazz's success.
But
in
not
the 80s and early 90s.
But not all was lost. Okay, not all was lost, because don't we remember this?
Oh, well, of course. I mean, Kevin Johnson earned some respect and made it okay that you didn't draft Mark Eaton. But look at the size of Mark Eaton in an era where the Suns were looking for any giant body to throw in at center. They unfortunately drafted Mark Eaton, but didn't get him.
That could have been our Haddadi.
Number 2 on the list. This one pains me probably more than number 1. It's Rajon Rondo.
Yeah.
Drafted the year after Nate Robinson. Same pick, 21st overall in the first round. This dude would have been the perfect backup point guard to Steve Nash in the 7 seconds or less years. Average 10 points, 8.5 assists, 4.5 rebounds for his career. But 3-time assist champ, 2-time NBA champ, 4-time all defensive team. Think about him backing up Steve Nash.
Think about them playing together, possibly, because Steve Nash was such a great shooter. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, that would have been phenomenal too, because that D'Antoni would have found a way to put those two on the court at the same time.
Even Mark D'Antonio, the former Michigan State football coach, would have found a way to put him on.
always
we
screw
are
up when you do that.
pronunciation truthers on here.
Man,
No,
geez,
please
how
don't say
proud.
Dragic. Please
No,
don't.
the number one, Dragic doesn't fit. He did play for the team. The whole premise is
No, just pronunciation issues.
number one on the big board, George Gervin. The Iceman was actually drafted by the Phoenix Suns in 1974 in the 4th round of the NBA draft. What happened was the San Antonio Spurs in the ABA also drafted him. He elected to play in the ABA, and the rest is history. But George Gervin, if you don't know the Iceman, an amazing, unbelievable talent. Averaged 25 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, a Hall of Famer, 4-time scoring champ, 7-time All-NBA, 1979 MVP. That one hurts because he could have changed the trajectory of those teams in the 70s and 80s for the Phoenix Suns if he had been a member of the team. And most people don't know it's a draft.
It was much cooler to play in the ABA than it was the NBA at that time.
And then obviously,
Obviously,
the leagues merged. Look, the ABA was the gray sweatpants of basketball leagues. and George Gervin just felt he fit better in those gray sweatpants than what the NBA had to offer. Of course, ABA and NBA eventually merged.
What league was Tropic Thunder in, though? I mean,
that was
whatever
the
that team, the Tropics.
That was the ABA. Yeah.
It was fictitious ABA, but ABA nonetheless. So George Gervin, number 1 on the list. That is Espo's big board for this week. Guys, any parting thoughts that we have before we get out of here?
Come back on Wednesday night. We're doing the live draft show. I can't wait for that thing.
5 p.m. Fox Sports Arizona Facebook page. Join us there. This is going to be a big event. We are going to have mystery guests. You never know who will show up. I mean, it could be big names, it could be small names, it could be no names. You don't know. It's like the grab bag of NBA draft specials, and you should be there over on the Fox Sports Arizona Facebook page. Please join us. Sun Solar Panel going to be giving you live draft coverage on what could be one of the craziest nights in the NBA, because quite frankly, we've never been through anything like this as NBA fans, and it's about to get a little weird, I have a feeling.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. You know what's so much. You know what makes it funner is that we don't have to worry about like, oh my gosh, is this pick gonna make or break us? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think there's a high expectation that this person is going to come in. This player is going to come in, and all of a sudden, like everything is going to change. It'd be nice if it did, but it's highly unlikely that it will. It's just nice to be in that position for once and say, okay, we're right there on the border of the playoffs. All we need to do is keep making smart decisions and smart moves, getting players in here that fit the system, and keep growing. And this player can help us do that. And it's nice to not have to have the weight of the world on your shoulders on the number 1, 4, 5, 6, 3 pick. You know what I mean? So
the weight of the world is coming in forms of trade right now when it comes to the Phoenix Suns world. So as I said, if anything breaks in terms of potential Chris Paul deals or anything else big, we'll join you before Wednesday, but we are definitely on for Wednesday. Quick reminder before we get out of here, hit the join button on YouTube if you're watching. You can become a flaming baller. Thanks to everybody in the chat. You guys are the lifeblood of what we do, and we truly appreciate it. If you're listening on the pod, click the link in the bio if you want to become a supporter of the show there as well. Also, please leave us a 5-star review, because that helps us with the algorithms, and we need to get as many listens as possible on these bad boys as we move forward. Make sure to hit the like on the Fox Sports Arizona Facebook page, and then you can follow at Dave King NBA, Dave King on Twitter. The NBA is there.
Not with the in the middle.
You can follow Dave King at Dave King NBA. The NBA is there to keep his ego feeling a little bit better about itself. You can follow Saul Bookman at Saul Bookman 32 on Twitter. No, did I get that wrong?
No, it's at Saul @Saul_Bookman. I continue to get disrespected on the show.
I didn't call you Sal.
Nobody can say my name, nor can anybody get my Twitter handle right. There is no 32. It's just at Saul_Bookman.
What's the 32 for?
The 32 is on actually my IG handle, which is at sbookman32. But
Okay.
yeah,
I knew there was a 32 at
Sure.
Saul.
Dude, he is not
underscore
32
Bookman.
anymore. So
yeah,
you
there
gotta
is
take
no
that off.
MBA attached to my name. I don't need that to,
Because you
build
cover
my-
other sports. I don't
build my
cover any
stuff.
other sports.
You can
Yeah.
follow. I don't cover it. I don't need a MBA at the end of my name either. At Sun
You guys
Solar
are
Panel
jealous.
across social channels. Follow
Real
the
quick,
show there.
Can I say thank you guys? I think
course.
this first show went very, very well as a joint partnership. Major shout out to Flex again and Jeff Goodman for joining us on the program today. Those two took time out of their busy Saturdays to hook us up with their key insight, which we very much appreciate. And thanks to all the viewers. We had a significant amount of viewers watching today, and we hope it keeps going. We're going to try and bring the very best content and more stuff to you so you guys can enjoy the show and be a part of it. And obviously we're going to bring some silly, stupid stuff to you as well, which we did with Gray Sweatpants, which
Saul, I want to give you
all the thoughts in the world really like. So
hey man, we got to give you huge props for setting up this show. You're the one who did. Saul's the one who's done all these graphics and these clips and everything. It's just been a wonderful show, man. We're very lucky to have you.
Yeah,
appreciate
and
it. Thank you.
If you'd like to congratulate him or complain at him, it's at Saul_Bookman on Twitter.
Oh, you get it right then. All right.
Right. Oh, I knew it. I just was giving you a hard time the first time. Make sure to watch Fox Sports Arizona Sunday night and Monday for the replay of the stadium.
We also
draft.
have all the Jeff Goodman prospect profiles for everybody that the Suns could potentially pick in this draft, even guys that might potentially slip in the draft, like Obi Toppin. We have all those profiles on our social media handles, so check us out on Twitter and on Facebook as well.
I am at Espo on Twitter. On Instagram, I'm at Espo.digital. Check me out there. So for Saul, for Dave King, for myself, this has been the Sun Solar Panel. Thanks to Jeff Goodman and Flex, and we'll talk to you guys next week on Wednesday on the Fox Sports Arizona Facebook page, and then back here on Saturday for a regular show.
Yeah, you can't hold me down. Yeah, how you like me now? You want beef, then have a call. Huh, looks like bling blow, ayy. Yeah, you can't hold me down. Yeah, how you like me now? You want beef, then have a call. Looks like bling blow, ayy.